We have covered the entire 7 great reviewing, and today will be the conclusion of the great reviewings. And the Buddha said this, has been explained, if one is fulfilled with the 7 great reviewing, by having come into possession of the path and fruition knowledge of the Noble One, in this case Sarabhana, the first supermundane path, one is said to have reached that stage, that is the stage of Sarabhana. And by having come into possession of these 7 great reviewing, one has become Ariya Savaka, the noble disciple of the Buddha. The commentaries have given this expression, namely, Sampanagato, one is endowed with the 7 great reviewing, and in Pali, Mahapajavakana, given the qualification as Maha, it means great. It's a great reviewing knowledge of the Noble One. Normally, when one has become a Ariya, as one realizes the supermundane path, and there are 5 kinds of Vijvagana, reviewing, and in this case, it is given as 7 great reviewing, and quantity-wise also, it is more than 5, and then the way of reviewing also is of high standard, hence it is worth to be qualified as Maha. Hence, the commentaries have given as Maha to Mahapajavakana. Great reviewing. Maha means great. When one has become this Sarabhana, he is fulfilled with these 7 great reviewings, or when one is endowed with these 7 great reviewings, one is said to have become the real Sarabhana, that is the one who has realized the first supermundane path, and one can make one's own decision. One can consider oneself as Sarabhana, as is given in this expression, Atano va Atanan Vyagariya. One decides by oneself, or one makes judgment by one's own knowledge. Nobody is assessing, nobody is making decisions. All along Buddha Sasana, Buddha's teaching or dispensation, even Elder Sariputta, who was in possession of supreme knowledge, besides the Buddha, he also did not give any recognition to anybody as to the attainment to any supramundane path. So all he did say was that you have practiced so much, and this is good enough. That's all. He said, this much would he say. Because this state of Ariya or Ariyahood, the state of becoming a noble one, is a very profound matter. A matter which concerns only the Buddha, who is in possession of the omniscient knowledge, Saddhita Jnana. So nobody possesses this kind of knowledge, namely the omniscient knowledge, Saddhita Jnana. So nobody besides the Buddha can make any decision or assessment as to one's attainment. So nowadays people are making decisions to oneself or to others, and it's something to be very careful. It is not the affair of anybody, and one should not speak out like this. Even the Buddha was so busy, occupied with assessing or just explaining so and so has become Sarabhana, Sagarami, and so on. Time was consuming, he could not devote time on such things. He became so occupied that he preached this Dhamma Dasa, that is Dhamma mirror. That is, when you look in the mirror, you see your own reflection. So also, when you go through the Dhamma mirror, you can make your own assessment. this Vipassana, the great reviewing, has been preached by telling or by trying to agree, by trying to explain the theoretical aspect with the practical knowledge. So when one is trying to remember it, it's quite spacious, quite wide and profound. So it is necessary to know the essence, the gist of these 7 great reviewings. And just like when somebody is giving the world news in any part of the world, it is a customary rule to first give the main headline, and later on, stage by stage, the news is given in brief or elaborating this headline. So instead of trying to read the entire news, one can read only the gist of it by reading the headline or some gist of the news under the headline. So in this sense, that one should be able to understand the essence of the 7 great reviewing, hence it is necessary to go into this, so that one will be able to understand the theoretical aspect when discourse is given, the theoretical aspect explained in a practical manner. And so as for when we go through from the beginning, that is the first great reviewing, Vipassana, one means the Surapana, after he or she has attained to this first super-mundane path, goes to the forest, root up a tree or an empty hut or a secluded place, and one understands thus that not abandon in himself or herself that might so obsess his or her mind that he or she cannot know or see things as they actually are. So when one is reviewing in this way, one considers that all these obsessive defilements are calmed, and even if they arise, they can be noted and abandoned. And when one is practicing with mindfulness of the arising and passing of psychophysical phenomena from the stage of the insight knowledge of the instantaneous arising and passing away, known as Udiyabhyajnana, one is able to cultivate insight knowledge, and the mindfulness practice goes very well, especially when one comes to the insight knowledge of equanimity towards all formations, known as Sankarupika Jnana. And one is said to be able to have a clear vision, and that is the first great reviewing. And the late Venerable Paṇḍitā Sayadaw has given this aphorism to wind up this first reviewing in the form of a maxim, which is translated thus: going into seclusion, one understands the rise and fall with clear vision, without impurities to obsess. Either when one is mindful of one's knowledge of the Ariya, noble ones, by being able to reflect upon the universal characteristics, cultivating a knowledge of the universal characteristics such as impermanence and so on, while one is noting, cultivating and repeatedly practicing, then one considers that one is not shaken by these obsessive defilements. They are said to be calmed, but they are not come to cessation, they are only calmed. So there's a difference between calming and cessation. Because there's only the bhavana citta, meditative mind, arising continuously, so that the mind is not occupied by these hindrances to progress or obsessive defilements. Hindrances such as sense desire hindrance, kamicchanda nirvana, or vyavada, hindrance of ill will, and so on. And the mind of the Anapana is not shaken by these hindrances to progress or obsessive defilements. Instead, they are said to be calmed. And of course, with the realization of the first abounding path, one is said to have eradicated the respective or relevant defilements which is concerned with the first subramundane path. So, as regards the objects noted, the defilements are not given a chance to rise, they are said to be calmed. In this way, one comes to this second great reviewing, which the late Venerable Master Sayadaw has given this maxim to wind up the second great reviewing, which is translated like this: repeatedly reviewing insight gained by the path. Stillness of defilements grows and refines, becomes evident. And with the realization of the first submarine path, as one is being mindful of the psychophysical phenomena, which are subject to cause and effect, or conditioned psychophysical phenomena, as soon as one realizes the first submarine path, one is said to be clear about the impermanent characteristics known as anicca, nupadana lakkhana, anicca lakkhana, the characteristic of impermanence. As soon as one sees the arising, passing way of psychophysical phenomena, one is clear about this anicca nupadana. As for the dukkha lakkhana, as for Sarabhana, he is not fully convinced with the unsatisfactory nature of all formations, and he or she is still thinking some of the formations in terms of pleasantness as a pleasant sukha. And of course, he or she is free from the atta, the view of self or soul, such as individual self or soul, jiva atta, or supreme self or soul, parama atta, as regards the mind and body. Because as one is noting, one is able to discern mind and body, as one practices Vipassana, as soon as one is able to discern mind and body, one is convinced about the absence of living entity, and one is convinced about the absence of person, being, individual, he, she, and so on. And as one continues to practice, to be mindful of conditioned psychophysical phenomena, as one cultivates this knowledge of conditionality, that cause and effect of mind and body, and not only that, but the relevancy of cause and effect. That means relevant cause giving rise to relevant effect. As one is able to understand this, the cause and effect relationship, one is able to overcome the view of the Paramata, Supreme Self or existence of Supreme Self or Soul, or there is such a thing as a Supreme Being like Brahma or the King of Devas and so on, which is commanding everything, which is creating everything. And if one continues to practice, one is even able to eradicate the subtle form, very subtle or a general form of atta, self or soul. And when one sees new objects arising, ever arising, one is able to overcome this Ucheda deity, that is annihilation view of annihilism, that everything is cut off after this life. And as one sees the ever passing away of psychophysical phenomena, one is able to overcome the eternity view of eternalism, known as Sayadaw Ditti. And as for the anatta vipassana, one can only overcome this view of self also only at the realization or the cultivation of the knowledge of dissolution, known as Vanga. And in the earlier part, one is not quite sure about this fact, because one is only seeing the dissolution of the objects noted. Now, at the stage of Vanga, knowledge of dissolution, one is able to observe the dissolution of both the object which is noted and the noting mind which is noting the object. So, the earlier one is known as ordinary insight knowledge, Vipassana Jnana. When one sees both the object and the noting mind dissolving, passing away, then this kind of insight knowledge is known as Pati Vipassana or Pati Vipassana. That is ordinary. The earlier one is ordinary knowledge, ordinary vision, and the later one is stepped up or higher insight knowledge.
Madam Isakana Pikayona or Shumaki Yimilu Tira Poko Yimi Malo Pilita Jane Aria Poko Sura Buddha Tadana Bada Shida the Chama Mashimuru, Cha Balai Tadana Mashimuru Kilo the Voja Timi Naga Tatia Mahapisakana Yamabe Erago Shimatia Ilama Pimba Chava Kili Yavi Niari Mashi Sumsaya Idutia Tatia Pisakana Kilo Sasu Tagava.
Now, when one goes further to the third great reviewing, well, one is convinced that outside of this Buddha dispensation, Buddha sadhana, there is no such thing as the practice of the mindfulness of the psychophysical phenomena, and also the realization of the supermundane path in other teachings. And such is the great reviewing which the late Venerable Master Sayadaw has given this maxim to wind up this third great reviewing, which is translated like this. One decides there is neither the stillness of defilement nor the attainment of the path outside of this dispensation. Now we come to the fourth great reviewing. As for the Sotapanna monk who has realized the first supermundane path, may commit some offences, apatti, which is of two kinds. One is a kind of offence which is committed intentionally, and the other is committed unintentionally by accident. And although it is unintentionally committed, it is still considered as an offence. So once the Sotapanna monk knows that he or she has committed an offence, apatti, then he or she would rehabilitate, redress it without hiding it, and not only rehabilitate or redress, but later he or she would make a vow to restrain in the future. So once one is fulfilled with this Aryan knowledge, one makes this reviewing, which is the fourth great reviewing, which the late Venerable Master Sayadaw has given this maxim as in the conclusion of this fourth great reviewing, which is translated like this. Offenses may still be committed that can be rehabilitated, yet are confessed and restrained in future. Such is the fourth reviewing by the noble and pure. Now we come to the fifth great reviewing. Although one may be active in various matters, either for oneself or for one's companion in the holy life, yet one has a keen regard for training. That is, higher virtue, higher mind and higher wisdom. And one is energetic in the practice of mindfulness. Such is the nature or character of a person who possesses the right Aryan view, which the late Venerable Master Sayadaw has given a maxim as a conclusion of this great reviewing, which is translated as such. While being involved in matters concerning one's companions in the holy life, one is eager to practice the three trainings. Such is the fifth great reviewing. The next one, that is the sixth great reviewing, is concerned with the Aryan strength, the strength of a person who possesses right Aryan view. That is, when the doctrine, discipline, Dhamma Vinaya proclaimed by the Buddha is being taught, one heeds it, gives it attention, engages it with all one's mind, hears the Dhamma with eager ears. In this way, the Aryan monk or the Aryan person is fulfilled with this kind of strength, which the late Venerable Master Sayadaw has given a maxim as a conclusion of this sixth great reviewing, which is translated like this. When hearing the good Dhamma preached by the Buddha, one pays full attention to hear all. Such is the sixth great reviewing. The next one, that is the seventh great reviewing, is like this. As for the noble disciple, he or she considers thus: when the doctrine, discipline proclaimed by the Buddha is being taught, one gains inspiration in the meaning, both in the meaning and the arrangement of the Dhamma, after which one feels gladness connected with the Dhamma, so much so that one's body is overwhelmed with rapturous feeling, which after the late Venerable Master Sayadaw has concluded by giving a maxim which is translated like this. Hearing the Dhamma preached by the Buddha, one understands the meaning with zest, that is piti, pervading through the body. Such is the seventh great reviewing. When one is fulfilled with this seventh great reviewing, then one is making a decision or considering or understanding that one has become an Sotapanna Arya, or a Sotapanna, a noble, pure and noble person. Ariyo, in Pali it is known as Ariyoti Parisauddho. That means one is pure. When one is pure, one is noble, highly, given by the Pali expression Uttamo. When one is pure, one can be noble. Unless one is pure, one cannot become noble. As for the Sotapanna, one has become pure and noble in his or her own right. Because one has become pure, one has become noble, Uttamo. So one considers that one has reached the stage of pure and noble stage. And in this way, at the conclusion, the late Venerable Master Sayadaw has given this maxim. As one is fulfilled with the seventh great reviewing, then one can consider oneself as a Sarapana, or a noble one. Now this we have just discussed the great reviewing in all, and only this great reviewing can only be understood well by the ones who have realized the philosophical mundane path. And so when one can consider, if one believes that one has become a Sarapana, then all one has to do is just try and verify with this Dhamma, that is the talks, the teachings given here, namely the 7 great reviewing. If one has become a Sarapana, then one's views will be in full agreement with these great reviewing. As for others, that is, those who have not taken up any practice at all, or those who are still practicing, has not realized to this stage, can gain general knowledge from by hearing this Dhamma, this talk, and also in the Buddha Sasana, the Buddha's teaching, within the realm of Buddha's teaching, one can have faith and confidence that, or one can become convinced that such is the state of affairs possessed by Sarapana, and the stage of Sarapana is so beautifully high. In this way, one can arouse one's faith and confidence, and then also undertake the practice with great zeal and exertion of energy to undertake the practice. And by listening to this talk also, one will have great desire to be fulfilled with this great reviewing. And then Master Sayadaw, at the conclusion of this talk, has exhorted all yogis to be able to be fulfilled with this kind of view, or to practice until one is fulfilled with these qualities. And also Sayadaw also exhorts these yogis, or who are going to become yogis in future, to undertake the practice so that they can realize this stage of Sarapana. So Sayadaw exhorts you all to be fulfilled with this great reviewing. And may you all progress in this way. And as all are belonging to the same world, and we're living in this world, we are also related by way of Sasana, Buddha's teachings, and especially we have faith and confidence in the Buddha's teaching, the teaching for the welfare of all beings, together with the rules of conduct to practice and undertake the teachings. As we have become the Dhamma relatives, members of the Dhamma family, may we all be able to practice in accordance with these teachings, and may you all be able to uplift, as we are related by blood, the Dhamma blood, may we be able to uplift this relationship as Dhamma relatives and Dhamma family, and also be members of future generation to sustain this sasana, so that it may endure long, and may you all be able to practice to realize the path and fruition knowledge of the noble ones as you all cherish to attain. And with this we come to the conclusion of the talk.